Welcome to Watch a Makin', a podcast about sharing ideas, discussing the business of making, and connecting with the maker community. Your hosts are Alex Adams, an engineer turned furniture maker of Type A Furniture, and an alien pretending to be a DIY craftsman, Alex Duffey of Duffey Woodcraft. This is Watch a Makin'.
Hey makers, and welcome to What You Making, a podcast where we talk all about what's on our bench, spotlight makers throughout the community, and remind you that drunk shopping is big business. 17% of all purchases in America are shopped online while under the influence, spending an estimated of $14 billion annually. Tonight's main topic, the best tools to buy for the holiday season. I'm Alex Duffey, and you can find me on Instagram and on YouTube at Duffey Woodcraft, and on Discord on the CNC With Us server.
And I am Alex. You can find me over at Type A Furniture on Instagram. And I don't think I have a factoid that's going to top what you just said. But if you'd like to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/whatchamakinshow and support us there. And then you can tell us what tools you want to buy for the holiday season.
Do you do
whether or not you get them
shopping?
On sale or have spouse approval.
Do you do drunk shopping?
I mean, not intentionally, but I mean, sometimes just scrolling on the phone, it can be dangerous.
I find that, if I'm drinking at home is the problem, because then I'm like, we're watching a movie or something and I've had a few drinks and I'm sitting there going, oh, I've seen this part of the movie, or oh, I'm buzzed and bored.
Yeah, we're going to save money by drinking at home instead of out at the bar. Nope.
Yep. And then I open up
way more buying stuff.
Yeah, I open up Amazon or Temu. Temu's the dangerous one. Because it's like, oh, it's only $4. Oh, but I can order 10 of them, you know?
Yeah, you can slip down that slope pretty quick.
Yeah, very much so. But how are you doing this week, Alex?
I am doing okay. I haven't been running for a little while since the end of the cross-country season. And I went on my first run today, so that was the first in a while, and it felt decent, although it was like just above freezing when I went out to run, so I had to get on my long sleeve shirt for that. Still in short shorts, but long sleeve shirt.
Of course, I mean short shorts are always the outfit that you use to run in. Do you ever wear pants and run? I mean, they're just too constricting, right?
I have some pants that I will run in if it gets cold enough, but I like there's specifically some like these Adidas pants that I like running in that have a little bit of like, there's enough air movement through them that it doesn't get like too hot in the middle of the run, because you start like, there's this weird like 5-10 minutes of the first portion of your run where you're cold, but then after that, like, you're generating your own heat, and so then like you start making adjustments and like, you know, throwing off your hat or like rolling up sleeves or stuff like that. So they're like perfect for the amount of heat dissipation, and of course you got like little zippers on the sides where you can like zip them up and down for a little bit more airflow. Honestly, I don't like the full length leggings. Like, I never really got into that.
You know, it's now that we're talking about exercise, basically, I should have used the other fact I was going to use for the beginning of the show, which was that retail therapy is popular. People love shopping. And actually, 2 out of 3 Americans prefer shopping over exercise, which I just was like, that made sense to me. But anyways, well, let's talk.
I mean, it just requires your thumb nowadays. That's all. That's all you need.
You can do it from a recliner. You can do it from bed, wherever you need.
Yeah.
What you doing?
So this week on What You Making section, I've been making our Patreon gifts. Praise! Yay!
Woo!
So as promised, I am finally making those original 5 patron gifts. I've been talking about it. You know, I'm going to do it. It's been just because of the busy season and I was getting behind. But they are all officially made, and they all have the first coat of finish on them. So by the time this airs, they could be arriving at the door of the patrons. So, because I should get them in the mail by Thursday night, and we're recording on a Monday. So Yeah, so I'm excited. I'm excited to get those out. I also made some extra ones for a little bit of a different design, obviously, but for my my personal patrons, because I did the same thing as well for the VIP patrons. I sent out a handmade gift. So
Nice.
yeah, so I'm excited to get those out, and it's been nice because that's all I had to do this week. I've just done that. I've done some lasering for some bookmarks that I was wrapping up, and I had a custom order for two pull toys, the little duck pull toys, and that was it. Like the fact that I have made less than 10 things this week is so weird after 10 straight weeks of mass production. So yeah, so that was really nice, and I'll talk more about what that means and what I actually did a lot of this week here in our next segment. But yeah, so that's what I made this week. Alex, what about you?
A lot of my focus has been on that table leg that I've been fixing. So obviously, I think where I left it last was I had made and shaped the portion of the leg that I need to put on, because this table has it's like a 2x6 that like runs down, and then it's got these two like smaller portions of the leg that attach to that. So that's and they kind of like, there's got this like swoop kind of like quarter circle shape. So that's the shape that I had made. So I had gotten the table out and got it flipped over to do a little bit of fixing on some other things, because there were a couple of other small things that I was doing on there. One of them was some of the spots where the veneer had peeled back a little bit. I squirt a little bit of glue in there and then taped it over with some blue tape, let it dry, and that stuff was good to go. And then there were a couple of these leg portions, both that like quarter circle shape that's attaching to that like kind of like 2x6 shape, as well as the 2x6 shape, that were a little bit loose, but they'd not like fully detached, so I didn't want to like fully pull the piece off. So that was again another scenario of squirting in some glue and then clamping it down so that it's nice and solid. So I did that stuff first while I was getting everything situated and getting my measurements, and I got the leg where it's, because there's one that's completely missing and then one that had actually fully come off, and someone had done like a fix on it by putting like, they slapped some plywood on each side and then kind of cut it to shape. So that one I actually that one has a little bit of extra finish on it because they never put finish on those plywood pieces, and I was not gonna like peel back because they had like put in nails and glue and other stuff, and I'm like, I'm not touching any of that extra stuff. I'll just make it look close enough. So that one is like, at this stage, it's ready to be glued back on, and I'm probably going to end up gluing that on tomorrow. And then the other piece where it was just like a full-on like leg piece missing, I got the so I had taken the dowels that were already in there, because that's what they used to connect these two pieces. So one of the dowels was actually loose, so I put glue on it and stuck it back in, and then I flush trimmed those dowels off, because I'm just going to use my Domino on that, just because it's easier for me to do that with alignment and everything. So I got the setup there where I put the piece and then the side where it's attaching to next to each other, and then, I mean, normally I would use a pencil line, but I was like, I had already sanded it, and I want to deal with like trying to erase that thing, so I just used blue tape as my like line marker on those for my alignment, because you just go across so that it goes across both of the pieces, so then you have a mark as you're holding it in the spot that you want where that mortise is gonna be made for either of those. So I got the mortise on both the table itself that it's connecting to, and then the little leg piece mortise. And the reason that I did that then was I wanted to get that on and then put finish on it, because I didn't want to deal with alignment and mortise and scratching something while I was getting that alignment set up and everything with those mortises. Hold on, I gotta kill this mosquito. Got him! I don't know how there's a mosquito in here. It was freezing the last 2 nights. Maybe that's a testament to my insulation in my garage. Anyway, back on topic. So I got the mortises on those, and then I used a trick from Mr. Spagnolo on pre-finishing with mortise pieces where you just have like a sacrificial board where you stick a domino in, or whatever mortise loose tenon component that you have, and then you use that as your way to basically stand up your workpiece while you apply finish to it. So I had to do wipe on poly with the color added, which I don't like doing just because I don't like film finishes because they're so temperamental. They take an extra level of skill and patience, as well as keeping crap away from them so that stuff does not get stuck on it. So I had that kind of like stuck up in an orientation where I could get all of the size that I needed to. And I was using a foam brush for applying that stuff, and I had decided that I wanted to use some maker pads for application on that, which, for those who are not familiar, it's basically like a piece of foam with microfiber glued to it that's good for applying finish, stain, and other stuff. Unfortunately, one thing that I did not do is when you cut those pieces up, you get like little loose bits of microfiber, and while I was trying to use that, I got a little bit of that on the surface of the finish. I was like, oh crap. So I got like a little toothpick thing to like pick those off, and then I just went back to my foam brush because I was hoping that I could get a much better consistent finish by doing that, but because I didn't do that, I just went back to the foam brush. So that's kind of where stuff sits as of right now for that one. And I can't remember if I had mentioned on the podcast, there was like a little bead profile that I had to route on there with the trim router. Obviously I did that before applying finish. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that I've been up to lately, is getting that table all finished so that I can get it out of my garage, because it just takes up a bunch of space and I'm ready to have it gone.
Fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it!
So what have you been fixing?
So back to that refinishing of that new table leg. So there were a couple of issues that I ran into. So I used a gloss finish on there, which I used a paper bag to try and knock down the sheen a little bit, because for those who are not aware, like a brown paper bag is like, it's something like the equivalent of like 8,000 or 10,000 grit or something like that, which is good for knocking down the sheen if you want to go from like gloss to something that's a little like maybe closer to semi-gloss. And what happened was, I think on one side where I had those little like nubs and stuff, I think some of those I had not seen the itty bitty ones, and so it was just enough to discolor and make it look like it had like these weird ass freckles on it. And I'm like, oh dang it, now I gotta redo this side. And then when I look on the other side, where it was close to that base that I had created where I stuck a domino in of just holding it up, I didn't get one of my strokes all the way down, and so I had a little clump of finish on that side, which I was just like, this is why I hate film finishes and dealing with those. So I did the same thing where I sanded back on, I had to get some like actual sandpaper block, like 220, to actually knock that down, because it was like a sizable glob. So that one, I mean, I just put a little bit of finish on one side, because I opted to not do the stood up orientation that I had before. I was just like, I'll just lay these flat because it was on each side of this piece. So I'm laying it flat on one side, apply finish, and then once that one is dried and done, then I'll flip it over and do the other side. So then it's laying flat as I'm applying the finish there, so I don't make the same mistake of missing a stroke like a quarter inch away from the edge and getting another glob again. So yeah, it's one of the reasons I just don't like doing those types of film finishes. It's just because there's just so much more stuff that can go wrong. So I don't like them.
Pull the lever.
So that's all that I have.
I decided to throw another quote in there. So yeah, for me this week, I'm breaking my shop again. So I'm tearing apart my shop for the third year in a row during the holiday season.
Is this becoming an annual thing?
It is. It's 3 years in a row. So at this point, it's a tradition, right? Yeah. So my shop is a cluster mess, and I don't like. When I first built the workbench, I built it to accommodate me making just some random furniture here and there, and doing mostly wood turning, and that's kind of where that bench started. And then 2 years ago, I added a big extension onto it for the CNC. And then last year, I didn't touch that section of it. I did some on the other wall. I did some storage, and then in the front section, I did a whole bunch of storage and reorganization of the garage. But I've decided that bench just doesn't work for me anymore. It is literally just a space where I put junk, and it piles to the point where it starts overflowing, and then I clean it up, and then it starts all over again because it's just wasted space, and I don't.
The circle of life.
Yeah, it's not good. So I've decided. So the first thing I did is I'm moving the miter station, because my CNC and my miter saw are my two most used pieces of equipment in my shop outside of my sander. So I am moving the miter station to where the workbench was, which is closer to the CNC. That workbench is going to completely go away that I have. And then the wall where the miter station was, along with there's a toolbox there, which is getting moved. That now is some big industrial shelving that goes all the way up to the ceiling. So that way I can put all the totes and everything I have underneath the workbench and on the workbench and everything stored properly in a usable space that I can grab things when I need it. And then the CNC is getting put on wheels, and it is going to be on a movable base, because eventually I will be getting a second CNC, because I'm at that point where I need two CNCs in the garage to run, because I'm making so much all the time.
Two CNCs at the same time. Hell yeah.
So I'm prepping for that.
Are you going to need an extra dust collection, or are you going to hook them up to the same one?
I'll have two dust collections. I'll end up because I'm going to end up. Yeah, because I'm going to end up putting the CNC that's on wheels is going to be able to go to the front of the garage, and that's going to be. I'm going to basically set that up as my production run unit for when I need basically lots of products done. So it's just going to run like for my my Yahtzee boxes, for example. I can just set the stops and the jig up for that, and I can just put the boards on it and nonstop and be running for Yahtzee boxes most of the year. Where the other CNC eventually, that I'll end up getting eventually, will have that'll be my YouTube CNC and my like me project and stuff, that one-off project CNC. So I'll end up having a production unit, and then I'll have one that will be the pretty workhorse that'll be running. So yeah, I've got some ideas. It's going to be fun. Yeah, so I've started the process. I completely removed the miter station, cleaned up all the junk because there was tons of wood and stuff piled underneath that. Got all the dust and stuff swept and cleaned up. I built the
was
storage
the wood
racks.
Underneath there, was that all scrap stuff or just like offcuts?
It was all scraps, and it was all offcuts that are to be in the burn pile, basically. I get those extra large boxes.
Okay, so it's just a purge
Home
for the
Depot.
burn pile.
Yeah, I just get those extra large boxes from Home Depot, and as I have junk cuts, I'll throw them in the box. And then there's a couple of people locally that that I know who are in need that need wood to burn during the winter for heat. So I give them all my offcuts because I don't need it and they can have it for free. So yeah, so it's
now, is that
it's
miter station, how long of a board do you typically need for that, for your in-feed and out-feed? Do you need a lot of space for that, or is it fairly, can you go with a more compact footprint?
I can go with a little bit more of a compact footprint, but it is on a stand. So I have the Hercules 12-inch from Harbor Freight with their stand for it. Their stand is a little big, but it's heavy duty, and the fact that I regularly buy 12-foot stock, I'm actually happy that that stand is as heavy duty as it is, because I'll buy 12-foot 8-quarter stock when I buy. Oh, you
do get 12-foot.
Yeah, and so I'll bring that home and cut that up into sizes that I need. So because there's a couple of people that I buy from, and they regularly stock 10 and 12-foot, and it just ends up being cheaper in the long run for those boards than the 8 and foots. Because of just space and stuff. So, because they want to get rid of those ones faster. So anyways, so I break that up. So the nice thing is that area, even though I'm going to have it up against the wall, that stand is pretty mobile. I can actually turn it diagonally when I need to work with those 12-foot boards, so that I'll have that plenty of space for it.
Yeah, I do the same thing where I tilt it diagonal if I need it, but that's only if, because the right side of my miter saw like goes up to like the furnace, so it's only like 3 foot that way. So if I'm making like cuts where it's like you're just trimming up an edge, like I've got the full length to the left of like 10 or so feet, so I'm fine that direction. But if I take a cut where I need like more than 3 feet on each side of the cut, I'll just pop it diagonal, and I got enough room. So yeah, popping diagonal adds a lot of length. Yeah,
it does. And so I'm excited to get this moving. The shop is obviously a mess right now because it's in deconstruction mode, but it's going to be a good time once it's finished. I am already seeing the bones of it come together as I start moving stuff off the old workbench, and I can't wait to take that workbench apart so I can rebuild it. And part of the reason why I'm completely taking that workbench apart is I want to access the wall behind the CNC, because right now it's just plain white with white strips where the studs are. It doesn't look pretty. I really want to add some, I'm actually going to find some either cheap tongue and groove or some really light laminate stuff, and I'm going to basically put some flooring on the wall to add a pretty texture to it, because, YouTube videos, I need a nice background. So yeah, so I'll be working on that as well once I get that bench tore apart. But part of that is I'm actually building I'm not building, sorry. I'm having somebody build me a mobile workbench for the CNC. There's a guy locally to me I found on Facebook Marketplace that builds them. He must get a deal with somebody for wood, because seriously, the guy's charging me $150 for a movable workbench that is a 3-foot by 6-foot bench, and like there's no way I could make that for $150, let alone my time. So
you must be getting some offcuts from like timber framers or something.
That's what I'm thinking.
Their offcuts are big.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. Or he, maybe he has his own company and this is what he does as a hobby. Who knows? But yeah, so it made way more sense to have this guy do it than for me to do it myself. So yeah. So anyways, that's what I've been breaking. Let's talk about what we're selling.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
So have you been selling anything?
No, I've just been focusing on churning out projects so that I don't really have a backlog. And then, because I do have that market that's coming up in like a week and a half, but I'm probably just going to plan on mostly 3D prints there, because with trying to get caught up on some other stuff, I don't think now is the time to experiment with new product, even though I could. If I do, I'll probably experiment with some laser stuff, but just because that's the first time that I've been there, I don't know what to expect. I'm not going to put a lot of time into it. And quite frankly, I haven't been doing nearly as much, call it outreach marketing, or other in-person type stuff where I've been like jonesing for more work because I just want to get some of the stuff that I have finished off my plate, because it's just the mental load of having a couple of projects that have been kind of hanging over your head for a while kind of slows you down. And then when you add a few more, sometimes you get a little too much on your plate, and then you can freeze up a little bit. So I have not been focusing too hard on new sales at this point.
Yeah, I get that. I've that's part of the whole why Patreon gifts took too long and everything else, because I was over-promising, stacking too many things up, and then I was getting behind, and yeah, I get that. So for me, my first holiday market is done and in the books this past weekend. And it was fantastic. I was
Nice.
really surprised. I was very, very happy. So I had never been to this location before. It is a high school, and it's a Saturday, just a single day Saturday event. I estimated from the amount of people I saw walking around and from my previous experience at markets that there was probably between 3,000 to 5,000 people that had showed up to walk around the event. So good number of people. There was about 300 vendors. I was one of 5 woodworking vendors. Though my booth, there was only one vendor that we had one overlap product with, and that one vendor was a friend of mine, and he also makes the Tricky Triangle games that I make. But he does glue ups and he uses metal pegs instead of golf tees, and so they're like a $30 item where I make mine cheaper, and they're a $10 stocking stuffer item. So it was different. They're different quality of products. Yeah. But out of those other 4 vendors, he was competing directly with the other 4 vendors because they all were cutting board heavy people, and I mean hardcore. Like one booth was just cutting boards and nothing else, and like every one of those I talked to did not do well. He did. So last year, my friend who I was competing with, he did 1,700. He said at that market. This year he did barely 700. So it was not a good day for him. I, on the other hand, did just over 3,000 for the day, which is my record for a single day at a high school. My previous record was 2,300 for a high school. So I did 97 transactions with an average of 31.18 per sale. And I would say the trend-wise of what I've been seeing, it continued all year, has continued, is lots of smalls. But oddly, some things sold that I was surprised sold so well, and some things sold that didn't sell well that I was shocked of. So first, what surprised me, this is my first year with a CNC 3 years ago. I made D&D boxes, and I had sold them, and they kind of moved a little. They weren't great, but it was post COVID, and I was like, oh, I'll just make some of these because people are doing D&D and traveling with their friends and stuff. And they sold, but I haven't had them back at a holiday market in the last 2 years. So this year I had made a whole bunch of D&D boxes out of just a whim. And I sold almost half of my entire stock on Saturday.
Nice.
Of them. I was shocked. So I'm going to end up having to make some more if I have time. But they were just flying off the table. I was really, really surprised. Toaster tongs also were flying off the table. And that's normally a small item that I do see move, but what was surprising to me was I didn't sell one coffee scoop, which is unheard of ever since I've introduced that product. Normally I'll sell 10 to 20 of them at every single market. And I didn't sell one this time. So it was
What's the price
weird.
difference between those tongs and the scoop?
Exactly the same price, $10.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it just, and they were right next to each other, so it wasn't like they were on opposite sides or anything. So I don't know, it was weird. I did have herb strippers there too, and I sold a bunch of those, and those are a new product this year for me. So those went really well, and people were really interested in those. But yeah, so lots of smalls, lots of the D&D boxes. I did find that most people we're buying gifts for other people and not as much people buying for themselves so far, which kind of makes sense with the way the economy has been going. People are having less money to spend on themselves, but they are still spending on others. So some of the personal items, like I only sold, I think, 2 pairs of earrings for women. Like usually those will sell when the economy is doing well. Same with bookmarks and a couple others. I didn't really sell much of the bookmarks either, which are normally a big hitter. But the games were all really well received. I sold a couple of actually I think I sold 3 of my 2-player aggravation boards. I didn't sell any of the 2-player Chinese checkers. Those are new this year for me too, but the full-size aggravation, full-size Chinese checkers, I sold both of those as well. So everything basically moved a little bit across the board. It was just kind of a surprise on how some things went. So yeah, I was really happy. It was ahead of my goal. I had set a goal of 2,000, so the fact that I hit 3 was great. And yeah, now I'm gearing up for the next week, which is this coming weekend is my big weekend. It's the one at the casino, where last year I did half of my entire holiday season at this one market. So I'm currently sitting here debating how much I'm going to bring, if I literally just bring all of my stock or not. But I also don't want to carry that much in. But I don't know.
Did you have your helper this past weekend or no?
No, they're going to be here at the casino because, again, so last year at the casino market, I did almost 10,000 just at the one event. But not 10,000.
There's your
I'm
answer.
sorry,
You just have your helper carry all of it. You don't have to carry it.
Yeah, I don't. So the helper I was going to hire, we didn't hire him because he ended up getting a job, which is I'm super excited for him. But he's going to be working, so he couldn't do it. Yeah, good for him. Like, that's great. But he was also a big burly guy that was going to help me carry things, and we ended up having to get somebody from Victoria's Book Club as a helper, and I'm sure she's able to lift things, but I'm also like, I don't want to ask her to lift 100-pound totes in and out constantly like I would have this other guy who's, and maybe I'm sure that is sexist, but it's very I don't know her ability compared to I know this other guy who literally lifts. So yeah, but yeah, anyways, it was fun, and it will be a good time. So I'm looking forward to this holiday market. It's also one of my favorite markets to go to. It's super fun and super big, and they've been advertising the heck out of it. I've seen billboards on both of our major highways. I've seen ads on YouTube for it. I've seen ads on Spotify for it. Like they're a huge amount of local advertising. Yeah, because they're the company that they use to put this on, the casino, they hire a national marketing company that runs it. So yeah, so they advertise quite a bit for it. So they last year estimated about 35,000 people, so I'm hoping around there again would be great. So
at this, because you had mentioned there were you said 4 or 5 other woodworking booths at the high school one.
Yeah.
Do you have the similar amount at this upcoming show?
I don't know who's going to be there this year. Last year there was only one other woodworker, and he didn't even do cutting board. No, he did do cutting boards. He did cutting boards and planters. Was the I just remember the planters was the big thing. But yeah. But again, both of those I don't do, because in my opinion, the market is way oversaturated with cutting boards, so I don't make them. I have friends that make them, so I have any custom orders, I send them their way.
Yeah. Yep. No sense doing extra stuff that you don't need to.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, let's talk about what we've been watching.
Somebody's watching me. It's my anxiety.
Alex, why don't you start?
Okay, first one that I've got, so Ryan at Holst Design Co., he had a really good post where it's kind of like one of those refreshers where you are advertising what it is that you offer for customers. And so what he did was he did a 8-bit style Nintendo game version graphic for like each of the different categories that he does of stuff, and so each one was its own image. So it was fun because you like wanted to swipe and see what the next scene looked like, and then it like listed off what it is that, you know, he had, whether it was cabinet making or other stuff. I think not trim carpentry, but just general carpentry is kind of the space that he plays in. So there were a lot of those services advertised. So it's a nice reminder of just advertising what it is that you do and doing it in a fun way that can engage people is, you know, a good way to reach out to customers.
My first one is the one and only Jonathan Katz-Moses, and I'm highlighting him because he did a video today that his charity from KM Tools is the Woodworkers with Disabilities, and he personally is going to be matching $10,000 in donations made to the charity from now until December 25th. So I really wanted to highlight this. If you have some extra cash to give throughout the holidays and are looking for a good charity, Woodworkers with Disabilities from KM Tools, Moses, is a great one to donate to. And again, he's personally matching up to $10,000 in donations. So good on him.
All right. Next one that I've got is what Dave's doing. That's underscore between each of those words. And this one was a fun reel that he had where he made one of those pizza peel or scoops or whatever you want to call it for getting pizzas out of the pizza oven. And so what he did was he took a board and he cut out a board so that it looked like kind of an L shape was left over, but like a really skinny handle portion. And then he took that board that he cut out and then moved it over to the left side to be the left side of like that pizza peel thing. So then it naturally had a handle built in and it was all out of one board. So I just thought that was a nice, clever little way of making that, because it can be difficult to make those without making a lot of waste to go with it, because you need to make something that's super wide, and generally speaking people do it with multiple boards and you're cutting shapes and other contours out of there. So I just thought that was really clever how they did that.
Yeah. My next one is actually about making a guitar, and I've been watching a lot of these reels because I'm actually getting ready to make one myself for my YouTube channel. So this maker is Alex, and I apologize, I'm going to say your last name wrong. It's P-E-A-Y. P-E. So Alex P. He made a guitar. Maybe? Yeah, maybe. He made a guitar, and what was really unique about this is he's making both the neck and the body, and the neck is a half circle, so 180 degrees, and he's connecting it to the body, which is also this rounded body as well, with that 180 degree round, with a dovetail, but it's a rounded dovetail connection, so it literally twists and locks into place with a dovetail all through the 180 degrees. So it's like it fits in like a slide and locks into place. It is so cool looking, and he has a good video about how he did it. So I was really impressed with that. Yeah.
Those locking mechanisms it's always fun to see what people come up with. Okay, next one that I have is from Bridget over at Dinkle's Woodshop. So she likes to have fun with her content and doesn't take herself like is overly serious about things. And so she had the video of her sculpting one of the octagonal chair legs by hand. You know, it was like calm, serene music, and then she just does this like cutaway to her doing like river dancing or something like that, and then she's like immediately comes back to the, you know, nice calming music of her doing that, and then she does a cutaway again of that, and it was just kind of funny because it really highlights the personality that she has, which I just thought was really, really fun. And also just a little bit of a mix up on, you know, when we see content where it's like you feel like you get into a groove of like watching stuff, and then you kind of get like a little bit of a shocker there. So I thought that was fun.
My next two back to back, and we'll start with one of them, but are all about cutting boards, because this is November is Cutting Board Awareness Month. So I am wanting to make sure to shout out our cutting board makers. So first of all, I'm going to shout out my friend Kara from And East. She is an incredible cutting board maker, but she was this week really killing it with these stories and then posts with the final board finish. But she was breaking down some raw white oak and some walnut, and ended up doing a really cool striped layout, or glue up of the walnut and the white oak. And then she did a story about her doing a juice groove with a router template and everything, and made a joke about, don't talk to me about CNCs, I can do it too. And then posted a picture of her holding it, and with that like baby voice went, "Look, I'm a big girl, I can do it too." And it was just so funny. So anyways, but the board it finished, the white oak and the back and forth with the white oak and the walnut was just really, really gorgeous, and it was huge. So it's a BBB, a big beautiful board.
Let's see. Next one that I've got is from Sawdust Society, and theirs it's this kind of like jig setup that they made on their table saw specifically for cutting strips. And what they did was they had for this jig, which kind of looked like a sled. So behind the blade, normally where you'd have like your riving knife, they had this like triangular block that was there to help guide the piece as it cut to go off to one side, which that can be, kind of a pain in the butt if you're doing those thin strips, because once that strip goes through and once it detaches, it can get grabbed by that blade as you are finishing out that cut, and then destroy the end of it. So I thought that was just a nice clever way of it just naturally pulling that piece off to the side, so then you could pull the workpiece back, slide it over, and then cut your next piece off of the larger board that you're working off of.
And then my last one is going to be from STS Woodworks. They did a beautiful end grain cherry and sapele cutting board that had a hard maple inlay that was really beautiful mountainscape across the cutting board. So gorgeous. I haven't seen sapele done in an end grain before, and they used it as a really nice dark accent to the cherry, and it was really, really well done. So yeah, I was very impressed.
Let's see. Last one that I have, which I forgot to put it on previously. I don't think that I had mentioned it before. So Steph over at Uncommon Outpost, she does her like maker ween, where she dresses up like one of the makers that she knows in the community, and it basically cosplays as that person and like records a reel of them. And she actually did a couple of them. So she did, if I'm remembering off the top of my head, she had one as Ricky TV, which was phenomenal. She really got his mannerisms down. And then the other one that she did was Jimmy DiResta, and she also got other people in on it as well, to compile a like composite reel of everyone else's stuff, which it just came together and was so fun to watch. So if you have not seen that, it's pretty fun to watch.
All right, so this week's main topic is going to be all about shopping for the holidays, specifically around tools. Alex and I have put together a list of basically the tools that we personally recommend. This list we will go ahead and post on our website for the podcast. So we have a way to do a blog there, and we'll post this as a thing. There are a bunch of Amazon affiliate links, but we'll be able to get to them as well. So I'm going to go ahead and start. We're going to do a couple at a time each and go for it. So Mine are all under $100, and they start at the cheapest and move their way up. So first, my first one is a non-stick micro silicone brush and glue applicator set. We talked about this actually a couple weeks ago on the podcast. It's that little small silicone cup that you put glue into, and it comes with a brush. And
yeah.
I love this thing. I use it all the time with my wood glue. Alex is demoing. Yep. The one in my picture is red, but it is a perfect way to keep your wood glue, and especially if you're going to be doing just little dabs here and there at times. I absolutely love it. And for $10, it's such an easy stocking stuffer for you or your woodworking friend. And then the second one for me, this is specifically to CNC users, is a T-Track hold-down clamp kit for the CNC router. It's a $17 from Old School, and that's O''SKOOL. And what's really cool about this, it is basically the exact same thing as the Bit Saver T-Track hold-down system from Rockler, but Rockler charges $40 for 2 clamps. This is an off-brand for $17 for 2 clamps. And I like this, and I like the version of it from these style of clamps because they are made from a softer plastic. They hold really, really well, but if you run your bit into it, it's just going to cut through it like soft plastic, like resin, instead of metal, and ruining your bit. So that's why, Rockler calls it the bit saver. Mm-hmm. It is going to save those bits because that's where the expense is in those bits. And so I really like these because we all make mistakes. Yeah. I still go through probably 2 of these a year, 2 sets of these a year, because I will make a mistake now and then, and I'll go right through one. So it's really a good thing to have. And for, again, $17, easy stocking stuffer. Alex?
Yeah, and then my little preamble to my list is that I know sometimes if you're giving ideas to people for gifts for you, sometimes they take your idea and then they find the absolute cheapest version of whatever that is, and then it's not the same anymore. So, like, for example, with that T-Track hold down, if they're like, I want to find one that's cheaper, and they get one that, like, it can't be, like, sacrificial like that, it kind of, like, loses the purpose. So some of my stuff, I try and make them idiot-proof, for lack of a better term, where it's like, no matter what they get, even if it's from, like, a generic place, it still will work for you. So a few of the items that I have in my list are kind of, like, gearing towards, like, either that or kind of, like, stocking stuffer size things. And I did keep my list fairly small items as well. So starting off at the top of my list, so the first one that I have is it's either the Domino plate or the Dowel plate that is from DFM Toolworks. And I use my Domino plate all the time. So if you are someone who does have a Domino, all it does is it just shaves off an itty-bitty amount off of the Domino that you're using, so you get a little bit smoother of a fit. And it kind of depends on the scenario that you are using the Domino for. Because sometimes if you have a lot of dominoes in there, that's a lot more room for error, and you might need a little more wiggle room. So that's a scenario where, trimming off just a little bit can be helpful, as opposed to, like, if it's just one domino and that's all you need for the alignment, like, if you can pound it in or clamp it down good enough, you should be fine. But I find myself using it all the time. And then the next one that I have on my list is, like, consumable PPE. I kind of, like, put it under that umbrella, just because, like, each of these items is so cheap. So this is kind of like, this is what you give to the person who, like, does the bargain bin shopping for gifts. So rubber gloves, filters for whatever mask that you have, safety glasses, because you always need more, they always get lost. And then, if you want to, throwing in a little bit of sandpaper for whatever that you need, whether it's just squares that you use for, like, getting edges or something like that, because, sometimes if some people are fairly particular about their sandpaper that they'll put on their sanders, others are not as particular, so that can kind of go either way on some of those, but like just generic sheets of sandpaper, you'll always find a use for those. So that's my first couple that I have here.
So, Alex, what is the one thing that you always need in your shop but you can never find?
My will to do the next project.
Physical item, Alex. Not.
We all need clamps. More clamps.
Oh, okay.
The boys are like one short.
I set you up, but it was not for what I thought you were going to say. So my next one is actually a tape measure. The one thing in my shop I always need, and I can never find it. So there is a really nice set of 16-foot tape measures from Amazon. They're $19, and it is a 6-pack of tape measures. And I like this because they're all identical. So you're gonna always, no matter which one you grab, you're gonna always have the same measurement, which is always trouble if you have mixed match tape measures. You don't necessarily know if it is the same measurement. Does it start at 0 exactly? So on. So this is all the same brand. I actually use these, and I like it because I've literally ordered 2 packs of these, so I have 12 of them that float around my house and my shop and in my truck because I need a tape measure at any given moment. And for example, here's one right here. I've got it on my desk because I was sitting here going, all right, well, is this going to fit for this? And while I was designing something,
I'm sure you were measuring some stuff at your desk.
Yes.
Now, are those ones that are the like auto?
They don't auto stop.
Like auto stop.
You do. No, you do have to. It is just a cheaper.
I mean,
one
for that price, like you can't ask for a lot.
Exactly.
That's
but
like $2-3 a piece.
Yeah, exactly. So I really like these. It's an easy way to get going. My second item right now, or next, is it's from $20. It's a magnetic screwdriver set. It's a 43-piece set that includes slotted, Phillips, hex, Torx, and more. It comes in a case. I actually like this because if you don't already have a set of everything or a multi-tool with a whole bunch of little attentions, this doesn't necessarily. It comes with a bunch of screwdrivers of actual just that one screwdriver size, not an attachment you put on. And I like that because I feel like I lose all those little small attachments here and there.
Yeah.
And because it comes in a case, it's really well organized. And this is actually something that I can get besides just from my shop. It's a really nice piece to get either for a kid going off to college, or we have one that's just for our house, so that Victoria knows that she can go and grab a tool or a screwdriver from this set if she needs it. So yeah, it's a really good set, and I recommend it. Alex.
Cool. The next one that I've got, so this one is called the Preppin Weapon Sanding Block. And this one is a very nice sanding block that has a very, very ergonomic handle. So it's all plastic, and it's kind of this like half moon shape, and it takes, I forget, I can't remember the size of sandpaper, but it's about, what is it, about 2 inches? Let me see if it's on the description of the actual item. I think the size of sandpaper, I want to say it's like 10 inches by like 2.5 or something like that. It's very easy to cut those pieces up, and it's very nice because it gets a nice snug grip, and because a lot of the other sandpaper holders, like your hand gets fatigued because it's like a knob or something like that like you have to like clench your hand onto, so your hand gets fatigued, whereas these, it's a much more ergonomic design, and it's so much easier to knock down whatever it is that you need with that sandpaper without your hand essentially going numb after a while. So I actually I have one of these for like each of the typical grits that I have, from like 80 to 220, and each, like, these come in different colors, so each color is a different grit, and then I just write the grit number on top, so it's easy to know, okay, this is my like 220 grit 1, So then you're not always like taking off the sandpaper to look at the back and be like, oh, was this 180 or 220? Or, what did I put on here last? So instead of guessing, you know what it is by just putting a little bit of masking tape and writing the grit number that needs to be on that particular sanding block. To follow that one up, so this one's, I don't want to, might be a little bit of a cop-out, but any of the hardware that you might have wanted to try for a project, whether it's for like a scoop or a pen or something like that, just in general, because it's nice to try different hardware, because sometimes you try hardware, whether it's from one manufacturer or it's a different style, sometimes you just absolutely hate the way that it goes together, and you need to experiment and find one that actually works for you better. So I don't really have like a true, like, I probably should have looked for like some kind of like random hardware variety pack or something like that, but that's like, this is a good thing that you can send to someone if you have like a particular piece of hardware that you've wanted to try, because a lot of times those hardware kits are only like $20 or so they're usually not too spendy, so it's a pretty easy item to get on your Christmas list.
So my next set are another CNC specific. This isn't necessarily CNC specific. I use it a lot as a CNCer. Calipers. Everyone needs a set of calipers, and I specifically use this digital $20 set of calipers. I really like it because it's got an extra large LCD screen, and as the older we get, the smaller the text looks. So I like having the big LED screen on it, and it also saves measurements as you go, which is really nice. So you can always see what the last measurement was, which is really helpful when you accidentally bump it or forget, as I bump the microphone, sorry. And so I really like having this set of calipers, and it's a really good set for $20. I've been using it almost for 2 years now, and I've never had to change the battery, which is pretty cool. And I use it specifically. Yeah, it's a good set. Next is Pimple Tools Japanese saws. I have a set of 7 different pimple tools that I use. I bought a whole set of them when I was at Texas. These are great pole saws. I really like them. They are actually a combination of American made and Japanese made. They are made in Japan, but they are in a co-owned American company as well. And I've met both owners. The guy from Japan flies in, and we actually had a fun time talking about Tokyo, because my day job is a Japanese company, and I know some of the sites over there. And so we had some fun talking about that. And I've also met a guy, I think they're in Philadelphia, is the American headquarters.
Yeah, it's somewhere on the East Coast.
But they're great pole saws. I've been using the small flush saw probably for about 3 years now. When I first saw it, actually, from the Wood Whisperer was using it one. And so I immediately picked it up and was like, oh, I really like this. And so, because it's really nice to cut off tabs and other stuff from the CNC. And so, yeah, now I have a full set of them, and I really, really enjoy them. So Pimple Tools and those calipers. Alex?
Yeah, I definitely need to get that pole saw, because I mentioned that I had flush trimmed some of those dowels on that table leg, and the flush trim saw that I have works decent, but so it's a Suzwan or whatever, and the one thing that bothers me about it is that, like, on one side it's got one of that backing ridge support that's on there, and I don't like it because it's tough to like keep the orientation, because it's only on one side, so you're kind of like struggling to keep that flush trim saw like flush, which is, not good. So I think I need to get that, because that would just be so much easier for doing flush trim, which I don't do flush trim a whole lot, but when you need it, having that saw for that is just wonderful, because it will save you so much time getting a nice clean cut, because then you don't have to like sand a whole lot of extra to get it down to be nice and flat. Okay, let's see. Next two that I have, this is actually one that a couple times people have asked me about it, and it is this little T-square that I use for doing a lot of my layout lines with. So it's just like a typical T-square, but it has little lips on the edges of it so that the T portion doesn't teeter, so that it keeps the ruler portion that goes across the workpiece nice and flush. And it also has, I'm not sure if they're machined or lasered holes in there, so then if you're doing like a line that goes the length of the workpiece, you can just stick the pencil lead in there and then pull it through, which there's a lot of different varieties of those. But I like this one in particular because it's a size that works well, because sometimes if you have, there's a couple of different lengths that they offer this in, and it can be tough if you get like the 24-inch version if you're just working on like a workpiece that's like, 6 to 10 inches and you've got all that extra overhang. So it's the one that I reach for the most, which is the 8-inch version. And the steps on that, I can't remember, because they're not down to a 64th. There's something, are they a 16th or a 32nd? Let me look here. Looks like they are 16th increments, which generally speaking, I don't need to get finer precision than that when I'm doing like offsets and things, when I'm drawing a lot of lines. So for me, that works okay for the measurements that I need, because there are a few out there that like can go down to like 64th or whatever, but I'm like, if you're getting down to that, like you need to start getting thinner pencil lead to go through that. And I actually do prefer using a mechanical pencil for that reason, because you get a consistent width line and you don't have to worry about your pencil bottoming out partway through, because with that pencil lead of just like a traditional pencil, sometimes it can break off in there, and then you feel like you're drawing the line, but it's broken off, and then it's not reaching all the way down there. Then you got to resharpen your pencil and go through. So buy yourself a mechanical pencil so that you can draw those lines, and your life will be so much easier with this tool. And then the next one that I have is...
Hold on, before you move on with that, I want to mention, besides a regular mechanical pencil, I have a shop mechanical pencil, which I really enjoy. It's that thick lead that's just like the big, thick pencils that you get from Home Depot or any giveaway, the square pencils.
Like rectangular ones?
Yeah, it's the rectangular. It's the same size of that lead, but in a mechanical pencil form. I really, really like it.
Interesting.
Yeah, just search. I don't have a link for it, but I'll see if I can find one. But it's a shop mechanical pencil is what I remember it being called. So, yeah. Anyways, go ahead.
All right, my next one, which don't say it's a cop-out, but any kind of wood, because you cannot go wrong with getting more material, especially if it is something that you have wanted to try and you haven't wanted to spend on it yourself. It's a good, especially if it's just smaller blanks, especially if you're a turner. It's fairly easy to experiment with different species and other things. It can be a little bit tricky if you work with bigger pieces, but if you're using some type of inlay or spline or other features where you're just doing small little accent pieces and you don't need a lot, this can be a good opportunity to ask for some exotics or something that you have not played with before.
My next one is so the micro jig push saw or push stick, right? That square thing that you can adjust all the different sizes so it goes over the blade and you're super safe.
It's kind of got like multiple spots.
Yeah, so
like multiple contact points. Yeah.
Everybody needs one because it is safe now, but I don't like to spend $60 to $70 on a push stick. So what I'm going to suggest is it is the exact same one. Sorry, not 60 to 70, $70 to $80 is what they have it listed currently for. This one runs for $50 from Amazon. Most expensive. I got it when it was on sale for $35 on Prime Day. And it is the exact same thing. It is it looks exactly the same, except it is gray and not yellow. And so, but it does all the same features. So I really recommend this one. It's literally just called the Push Block for Table Saws and Router Tables. It's just a no-name brand. My next one is the Kafoam. I'm not going to say that. It's a Chinese brand. Power tool organizer. It is just a Kafoam. It is a $50 organizer from Amazon, and I really like this organizer. This is actually the one I use currently on my wall of my shop. It has, I think, 8 spots for different impact or drivers. It has spots for, it has 2 shelves on it. It has spots for my mallet and for some screwdrivers, and I put my tape measures that when I need to find them are all on it. So I really like it. It's a good organizer, just easy, light duty one that you can put on the wall. So I like it a lot.
Are those wire racks for those shelves?
Yep, wire racks for the shelves.
Okay. It looked like it, but I couldn't quite tell on some of them. It looked like some layers were wire rack, but other ones I couldn't quite tell.
Yep, nope, they're all wire rack for the shelves, which I actually like because when my, whatever I'm putting up there is covered in sawdust, it just falls through.
Yeah,
so
I've got a love-hate with wire, because it's, for the exact same reason. It's like, sometimes it's nice not needing to have, like, the flat surface, but other times it's like, I could use that, because this one thing is, like, a little bit wobbly, so it's a little bit of a give or take. But you can always put a little flat backer on there if you need to have it be flat without
cut a
any
piece
slats.
of 8-inch ply or something, yeah.
Yeah, something to line the bottom with if you fancy. The next one that I have, and I misspoke earlier when I said most of these were small items. This is the only, like, well, wait a second. No, there's. Just ignore that statement altogether. Sorry. So this next one is a shop TV. So if you do not have a TV in the shop, especially if you're doing, like, what?
I said, damn, shop TV. Look at you, fancy pants.
Yeah, so it's nice, especially if you're doing a lot of monotonous things, especially like sanding, to have a TV up in there so that you can pass the time a little bit easier. I personally like getting the Roku TVs because they are, like, you don't have to add any streaming box to it. Generally, they've got all of the streaming apps that you need on there for it. And relatively speaking, they're pretty low price and they do just fine. And you don't really want to, like, spend a whole lot on a shop TV just because, like, it's in the shop environment. So, things can happen. It can get a little bit dusty. Scraps of stuff can fly everywhere and hit stuff. So, if you've got a TV in the shop, or if you just want to get your regular TV upgraded and then move the other TV down into the shop, you can do that as well. I've done that in my garage where I got a Roku TV for the living room, and then I essentially retired the TV that was there into the shop space. So that's probably one of the bigger items that I have. And then the next one that I have is probably... It's one of the tools that I reach to very often and is well worth the money, is a drill guide. So any of you who do not have a drill press, or you don't have, like, the little drill guide that they have from, like, Woodpeckers or Rockler or Milescraft or wherever, 90% of the time, or, like, a majority of the time, you just need, like, a direct straight hole into the workpiece. Like, it just needs to be 90 degrees from the surface, and that's all that you need. So this drill guide actually has, you can get it in metric or imperial, and you can get it in a couple of various sizes, because the one that I use, I think it goes up to 3/8, and then I think it's down to, like, an 1/8 inch. So they're very useful for getting that nice 90 degree, hole drilled into your workpiece, whatever it is, without needing to have a drill press, which is super duper handy, especially if you've got large workpieces that you are working on that are not easy to get to a drill press, even if you have one. So honestly, like, these things are like $20, and I use it all the time. And if you do need stuff at an angle, like you've got there's a V groove in the bottom, so you can drill into 45 on like edges if you need something like that, or you can always use a scrap piece at an angle if you need to cut something at an angle. So for $20, you're getting a pretty good amount of usage out of that thing. So I think it's a really great value for what you get out of it, especially with how much you can drop on drill presses very, very easily.
Yeah. My next one, the next couple are going to jump in price here. So the first one is $55. It is the Win Mobile Base Universal Heavy Duty 500-pound capacity mobile base. I love this. Most of us here work in small shops, and we need to move our tools around. I use this on every single one of my tools. It is on my bandsaw, it is on my table saw, it is on my jointer. Everything uses this mobile base, so I can wheel around. Because it is universal, it can go up to quite a large capacity on size-wise, or you can make it smaller down to the size you need. And I don't want to spend the money that Rikon, for example, Rikon sells a mobile base for my bandsaw. It was $300. This is $55. Does the exact same thing, and it's just black and orange versus blue and white. Whoopie-doo-dah-day. I'm all about saving a buck here and there. And
spray paint's like $10 if you need it.
Yeah, right? Like, yeah, come on.
Well, and one thing that I'll say for this, too, that I've done, because I can't remember what brand the base was that I use for my jointer, but it's the same setup as this. And one other thing that you can do for these two wheels that have the little flip-ups, take a scrap board and drill them into each of these, so then there's a nice bar, so that when you flip it up with your foot, it does both of them at the same time, and the same thing for when you step down. It is phenomenal how much easier it makes that process for you when you do actually need to move it. So highly recommend adding a board in between those two wheels if you do get something like that.
Right, and that's it takes a 5-minute modification for a couple of bucks of wood and screws, and again, you're saving money in the long run. And so just because it is, the Win Amazon Chinese brand, it's still a great thing. And again, every one of my tools is on it, so I use it. The next one is the Win, another Win product, the oscillating spindle sander. Spindle sanders do not need to be expensive. I cannot stress this enough. I've used a Jet spindle sander. I have used the Rikon one too. They're all exactly the damn same. The only difference is instead of metal plates around the thing, this uses plastic. Whoopie-doo-dah-day. It's still cast iron base. You're going to get nice sandpaper anyway. You're not going to use the stuff that comes with it or the refills from Win. You're going to use good sandpaper. But otherwise, it's exactly the same. Still has a port in the back for dust collection, everything. So this is $95 for the spindle sander. Great spindle sander versus, for example, the Jet is over $300. The Rikon was $200. So you're, again, saving money. And that's what's important, especially this time of year.
Okay, let's see. Next one that I have is another one of my a little bit more spendy items, and it is a Moxon Vise, specifically the one from Benchcraft. It is the one that I actually own. And I mean, you can go a couple of other different routes if you want to on this one. There are hardware kits that you can use or make on your own, but a Moxon Vise is a really wonderful vise, especially the version that I have. It has a lip on the back, so I can pull it out from underneath my bench, set it on the top. I use a couple of holdfasts to secure it to the bench. I can do whatever I need to do. They're 24 inches between screws, so I've got a nice wide workspace. I have some crubber on the inside of those clamp faces, and then I do also have a spring that is in there, because those who are aware, it's just a threaded rod, and you've got either a handle or a nut of some type that you are using to basically push that jaw closed. So if you unscrew it and it's coming back and you don't have a spring in there, you have to physically pull the one jaw that is not secured to your bench. And so having a nice little spring in there that just goes over the screw makes it so much easier to use. And you can get one of those. There's a spring that you can get from plate11.com that is specifically sized for that Moxon vise that is from Benchcrafted. Or if you get a different hardware kit, you should be able to find a spring that's relatively the right size for whatever screw thread that you end up using. So you can go a couple of different routes on this. You can go with a cheaper, just the hardware, supply your own wood for the jaws and whatever you want to put for the inside lining of the face, or you can go all the way up to getting essentially a pre-assembled Moxon vise from Benchcrafted so that you don't have to do any of the work. So you can kind of choose your own adventure of how much you want to actually spend. The next one that I have is what everyone needs more of. Do you know what it is, Alex? It's clamps. I'll just do one variety of clamp that I use all the time, which is the Rockler panel clamps. They come in 2 different sizes, so pick the size that fits the type of workpiece that you are making. So if you are doing items that are, I gotta look and see if the smaller, I want to say it's 16 inches. Let me see. Let me look through. Yep, 16 inches wide is what the smaller version can handle width-wise. And then the larger one, I think, is like 30-some inches, which is good for, like, if you're doing multiple boards put together for, like, a coffee table or something that's a little bit deeper. And what I like to do on mine is I like to put 2 of these panel clamps on my glue up to make sure that everything is nice and flush so you don't have boards popping up. And then I come through and I use other clamps to even out the clamping pressure across the workpiece. So just a couple of those panel clamps keeps it nice and flat, and then you can use some of your more inexpensive clamps to fill in and even out the clamping pressure for the remainder of however long of a workpiece that you need to clamp together on your glue up.
My next one, and I'm only going to do one because my final 3 all go together. So this just next one here is a mini hand planer. It's the block plane from Bridge City. If you haven't seen Bridge City hand planes, they are gorgeous. They are redeveloping what a hand plane should look like and how they should function. I'm not a big hand tool guy, but I was given this as a gift a couple of years ago, and I used the heck out of it, especially because it's so nice and small. I use it to put really crisp chamfers on the edges of anything that I'm making, so like a nice box, or on some on just really anything. And I love this little hand plane. It is so easy to use. It's I've been using it for 2 years. I probably should look at sharpening it, but it is still almost as sharp as it was the day I got it. And it is really, really impressive. I really like these. If you were lucky enough to go to AWFS this past summer, the Harvey booth had a whole bunch of these there. They were actually giving them away as one of the prizes at the booth. And they had a big gold one that was really pretty. I was trying to win so bad. But yeah, Bridge City hand planes are gorgeous. I highly recommend them. Alex?
Yeah, I do actually have one of those. And it was part of the chopstick making kit from Harvey. So I had actually purchased that after going to Maker Camp in 2024 because it was so much fun. You get a little hand plane with the kit, as well as it was an easy activity that I could do with my son, and he enjoyed doing it and had a lot of fun. And I don't know, it came with the kit where it's got like the sandpaper or whatever to actually sharpen the blade. So I don't know what all is included in the just hand plane, block plane on its own. So I do have one. It
did not come with
nice. Okay. So I do enjoy using it. It is interesting, the height adjustment that is on there, because you can have it set to a certain height so that if you're planing something down flush, if you zone out for a little bit, it will, you won't go further than you need to for your depth. Although you just got to make sure that you're on a work surface that is nice and square when you're doing that, just so that you don't get any bumpiness or unevenness. And this is probably one of those scenarios where I would say do not put this on a list for someone who will go and get the cheapo version of whatever you give them on your Christmas list, because a block plane from Menards or Home Depot that's like $20 is just god awful and is the absolute worst thing in the world. Like any type of hand tool with a blade that is from a hardware store, whether it's planes or other stuff, it's just not a good time. You're gonna have to spend a lot of time getting it up to snuff, and for this and any other of the more reputable brands that have a little bit better fit and finish, it's definitely worth the extra money to have it come ready to do its job, as opposed to something that's needs to get squared up, the blades need sharpened and whatever. It's so much nicer to have all that stuff sharp out of the box.
I guess so. My last three here are, like I said, they all kind of go together. So first of all, you guys know me. I'm a Next Wave bro. I love to be. I'm sponsored by them. I also love to shout their praises. So Next Wave CNCs. If you are looking to get into the market for a CNC, especially a hobbyist CNC, they have sizes starting at a 1x1 all the way up to a 4x4. So you have plenty of sizes to pick from that will fit on your bench. For the month of November, they are doing a pick your accessory sale. So all the CNCs are already on sale, but you also then get to pick an accessory up to $900 for free. I would recommend the water-cooled spindle, which is normally a $900 accessory. Is a great spindle to add on to that. It's a 2-horsepower spindle you can add on. And then if you're looking to make another purchase or accessory item, get the 10-inch pendant display. It's a really good addition to upgrade your CNC as well, if you're not already buying the Plus series of the CNCs, which come with those accessories. If you do end up getting a CNC this holiday season and you're looking to get started with it, first you're going to need bits, and bits are expensive. So I do recommend getting good bits because they last for a long time, but are also overly going to break the bank. So I do recommend IDC Woodcraft CNC bits. They are a bit manufacturer made here in the United States. A great crew over on YouTube and on Instagram. They do CNC shows and tons of training. I highly recommend checking them out. They also carry the Ginny line of bits, which are the bits that I exclusively use, other than a few IDC Woodcraft bits like their Lightning bit for cribbage boards. But great CNC bits. And then finally, if you need to learn how to use that CNC that you just got, Andy Bird, he's a friend of mine. He created the CNC Kickstart course on this year that he launched. It's on sale for the holiday season for $197. It is a phenomenal series. I wish I had this when I got started with CNCs. I'm an affiliate for it, and so I asked. So he gave me access to the course, and I went through and listened to it. And I learned a bunch of stuff, and I've been doing CNC now for almost 5 years. He is such a wonderful teacher. He takes you through 10 different projects from start to finish, in getting harder in every product, in every project, but starting from building your CNC, putting the spoil board on it, flattening the spoil board, to making boxes and products and repeatable things over and over again. It's a great course. You will watch it and have access to it. There's videos, there's cables and lots of extra add-ons. I can't stress enough how great of a course this is for anyone who's wanting to learn how to use CNC. And that's
and you were
my
actually
list.
on Andy's show recently. That was
I was.
How recent was that? Was that 2 weeks ago? Week and a half? Something like that.
2 weeks ago. Yeah. It was a fun time. I gave away a UFO light that actually is sitting next to me. I need to get in the mail. And it's going up to Canada. But yeah, he's a great guy, and he does so much for the CNC community. So I really enjoy getting to know him more and hopefully work with him more in the future.
Ooh, wonderful. I will round out with my last kind of bundle, which is still under the clamp umbrella, if you will. So I personally use parallel clamps quite a bit when I'm not using those panel clamps that I had mentioned. And I like using the Bessey clamps primarily because these parallel clamps have some good accessories that go with them. So you can get a wide variety of their, I think it's the K-Revo or K-Body clamps, that you get a very wide range of lengths that you need, which depends on the size of projects that you have, whether you want to go like 24 inches all the way up to, let's see, I can't remember. I think I have two that are like 60 inches, which are like 5 foot, I think. I've got a couple of those for some of my bigger stuff. But the really nice thing is that the first accessory is their tilting adapter, which is this little piece that like clips onto the jaw, and it can rotate, I can't remember, I think it's like 30 degrees each direction, which for me is really good when I'm working with live edges and I'm clamping and gluing something to that. So for those who remember the sofa table / bar table that I built for my dad, that one, it had a live edge on one edge, but we got a straight edge as well as a lip that we needed to glue to the back, and so I used those on that project so that I could get that nice clamping pressure without the face of the clamp like digging into parts of the live edge. Now there's certain limitations when it comes to like how aggressive that live edge is, but if you smooth it over kind of like how I do, it shouldn't be a big problem when you are clamping that down, because generally speaking, if it's something that's going to be like furniture and it's like super duper aggressive, it might become an issue for like, you know, people hitting their legs on it or something like that. So generally speaking, it's going to get, in a lot of scenarios, at least for me, smoothed out that it's working just fine. And then the other accessory is their K-body extender, which is it's just this little block of aluminum that allows you to put two of these parallel clamps together. So what you do is you actually take the adjustable jaw all the way off on one of your clamps, and then you keep it on for the other one, and you flip them a certain direction so that the bottoms are going into this clamp extender. Usually what I do is the clamp that's on the top that's permanently affixed to that, one of them is like the working surface that is going to be against my workpiece, and then the other one I just flip it 180 degrees so it's flipped down so it's not in the way, and that one that's flipped down has the adjustable head for clamping to whatever distance I need to have clamped. So, for example, this came in absolutely clutch when I was refinishing all the church pews and fixing some of those, because some of the sides of the church pews that were nailed in got kind of a little bit wonky on certain portions. So I was able to combine two of those 5 foot clamps, or either 5 or 6 foot parallel clamps, and basically clamp from end to end on this church pew so that I could go in and brad nail everything back into place so that it stayed nice and secure. So even if you are going with some of the smaller, like 24-inch clamps, I mean, you get these extenders and you can double those up and get a nice long clamping surface for the occasional time that you need it, without having to buy like the super big clamps that can be a little bit tricky to get around your shop sometimes, because that those clamps falling down and getting everywhere can be a little bit of a pain in the butt sometimes. So sometimes instead of using like one of the really big clamps, sometimes I'll just clamp two of them together just because it's a little bit easier to manage sometimes, just like moving it to where I need to. So that gives you a little bit more flexibility. One thing that I will mention back on that little tilting adapter is that when you pop that on, this is the only gripe that I have on that, is that the little like plastic portion that like clips on there is very narrow, and so if you drop the clamp when that is on, that weak spot, I have had that break before, so just be cognizant of that and just be extra careful when you're moving around those clamps when you do have that attachment on, so that you do not break that. But when I had that happen, I talked to Bessey, they got me replacements and they took care of it for me. So that's, you know, one of the nice things with Bessey, on top of just the parallel clamps, because honestly, parallel clamps between companies, they're pretty comparable. It's the accessories that get me kind of sticking with Bessey, because I know that those accessories fit those. I have not tried the I think Harbor Freight has their like, is it their like Bremen brand or something like that they do have parallel clamps. I should probably buy one of those and just see if the Bessey accessories work on that, which maybe not, but they work just fine on the Bessey clamps, which I absolutely love. So that is the end of my list of Christmas items for the shop.
Good news, everyone!
So, Maker News this week. I see you have an item here.
Yes, so I can't remember when this announcement came out, but for those that are more in the hand tool space, you will be delighted to know that they are bringing back Handworks in 2026, which this event, generally, it's only happened once every 2 years, and they're always kind of a little bit wishy-washy on if they bring it back. So this is at the Amana Colonies in Iowa, and you get a lot of hand tool vendors that are in one spot. So you've got all sorts of vendors that make, you know, planes, chisels, all sorts of hand tool specific things. You get, you know, authors of books that you read on woodworking, like the Lost Art Press crew. They said that they're going to be there. I got some of their books while I was there. In 2024 is when I went, and it was an absolute blast, because the Amana Colonies is just fun on its own, but throwing in even more of the hand tool work, because they do actually make furniture there. Having all of the other stuff that you can actually try in person. Like, it's nice having, like, if you've been on the fence about getting a carving axe or a scorp, or, insert name of a whole bunch of other specific hand tools that you might have on your wish list. It's very, very rewarding to, like, use one tool and then compare it to, like, another one that you've been debating, and do a little bit of a side-by-side on some of the, like, sacrificial pieces that they have there, to find out, oh yeah, like, this is everything I expected this to be, or this wasn't quite as magical as I thought it was. I'm just gonna go with the other, thing over there. So this is, I actually I bought a lot of stuff when I was there last time. I actually got the David Jeske dovetail saw that was there, which is magical. And I did actually get a blue spruce chisel while I was there. I was, like, playing with their stuff. I got, like, a little dovetail chisel and countless other tools that I got while I was there. So it is a wonderful time, and if you can make it, it is wonderful, and I don't know if I'll be able to make it, but I will sure try, because they are having it September 4th and 5th in 2026, which I believe is Labor Day weekend, maybe?
Everything
like
is
that.
in September next year. It is insane.
Yeah, so depending on where you are in the country, you might actually have a few more options if you want something that is within driving distance. So if you can't make it up to like Maker Camp, but you're in the Midwest, you can go to Handworks and do some stuff there, meet up with some people, and have a good time.
Well, with that, thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, this list of all this products, yes, and I know we have our other thing to read. I was just going to say this list of products that we have, as a reminder, will be on our blog website, which we'll put a link from Instagram over to there. So if you're listening, just go over to our Instagram and click the link there.
Awesome. And if you would like to support this show or double down on your support of this show and go even to a higher tier, you can go to patreon.com/whatchamakinshow to become a patron of What You Making.
Thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. And just remember,
in case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
good night, everybody.
Night, night.